Raise your hand if you've got more games in your library than hours in a month. Yep, same here. I am terrible at finishing games. Unless a game is short and exceptional, it's doomed to my ever-growing backlog. A pile fed by every Humble Bundle, every Epic freebie, Amazon Prime giveaway, Steam sale, GOG sale. My PC library alone has 1,351 games as of today, and the last 5 years, I've only finished 5. But this year, somehow, I've beaten 17 games. No plan, no resolution, just a simple shift, and the best part, I'm enjoying gaming more than ever. So how did this happen? It all started when I began streaming early this year. At first, I pushed myself to finish every single game I've streamed. Oh, that's a recipe for burnout. But January kicks off with Years 1 Chronicles on PSP. Absolutely head-banging track and god-awful boss design. Reviews here if you're interested. Stray, a gift, courtesy of Hoggy from Ripshack TV. I realized quickly that it's not a game I was expecting or wanted it to be. It is less a journey and more of a simple adventure game. I'm disappointed. Then I go up the tree and start appreciating it for what it is, and it does get better. January closes with Genshin Impact. Pretty graphics, combat is responsive and much deeper than first appears. Exploration is amazing! And surprisingly, gacha mechanics seem to be very fair. What's the catch? February opens up with me finishing Valorant Victory and Stirring Abyss. Both are niche, fun, and flawed in their own way. Stirring Abyss is a child of Lovecraft and XCOM. Almost hits that I love this hidden gem territory, but not quite. Sea of Stars, a bitter pill. Gorgeous pixel graphics and animations, innovative combat, bogged down by a lock break mechanic that stifled enjoyment and actively took away from the experience. Uninspired story and cardboard cutouts of characters. Forcing myself to enjoy it turned streaming into a chore. I wish I learned this lesson there and then. Genshin Impact honeymoon also came to a close. Boring writing, padded content, much more invasive gacha mechanics than at first appears. I dump it for Honkai Star Rail and do not look back. After all, Honkai has superior writing and story, amazing world, fantastic turn-based combat, and gacha mechanics are so much more fair and non-invasive in comparison. What's the catch? The month closes with Bundle Tale, a League of Legends story. Cozy crafting game, gets me excited for the possibilities. 3 streams and 9 hours later, I regret ever spending money on it. First game I drop without a second thought. In March, a gacha games bonanza comes to roost. Dailies, weeklies, battle pass, addiction, and exhaustion. Make gaming feel like a second job. I finish all the story content that the Honkai Star Rail has at the time and swear off playing another gacha game ever again. If you want my deep dive, check out the podcast. Surely, playing an MMO would be so much better instead, right? Enter Final Fantasy XIV. The month ends with Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. A breath of fresh air. A therapeutic experience, the game I needed without knowing I needed it. The best visual novel game I've ever played, and I don't particularly like visual novels. Obsession, abuse, and depression all tackled in a way that is mature and doesn't feel cheap. And then it gets weird. Yes. Check out the podcast for deep dive if you're so inclined. Everyone says if you liked Doki Doki Literature Club, surely you would love Undertale. I hate the idea, but I let myself be convinced, saying I'll drop it the moment I'm not having fun. I lie. Streaming to an audience is addictive. I do what I later find out a neutral playthrough of Undertale. There are some cool parts and I do get a few laughs out of it, but similar to my first impressions oh so many years ago, I find it too full of itself. I'm told I don't know how to play the game, and anyone who doesn't approach the game in a specific way is an idiot. Surely that should make me play it correctly now. Of course I start a good and the most correct playthrough and cut out the game like a cancer. Undertale fandom is passionate. Now the game of the backlog, I guess. I try something new in April. I start playing 2 games at the same time on alternative days. Either that or stopping my gacha game addiction makes me feel better. Final Fantasy XIV gets better once you get through the Realm Reborn. It really does. Trust us. I trust. And I play. And do enjoy myself for the most part. And then cheese and wine happen. The quest chain that grows hair on our chests and separates men from the Lalafell. Why Final Fantasy XIV? Why? Inspired by the release of the Fallout series on Amazon, I play for Wasteland Remastered. Surely people would be flocking to check out this gem and a piece of gaming history, the progenitor of Fallout series. Both streams are dead. And while I enjoy the game, it is put aside for later in favor of Fallout 1. In May, the most important question gets asked many a time. Are we winning, son? You forget a lot in 10 years, and third time fully completing Fallout 1, I enjoy every single moment. It feels good to be back in Shady Sands. Meeting Tandy for the first time again. The end is fantastic and the Master, oh, Master. What a game. If only Bethesda games, or Amazon series for that matter, were half as good. I'm hyped after finishing Fallout 1, so I dive right into Fallout 2. This might be the very first CRPG I've ever played, at either that or Baldur's Gate 1. I only have the best of memories of it and have finished it twice before. I'll be here for a while. Over 100 hours into Final Fantasy XIV, I finally finish The Realm Reborn. Despite what people say, I enjoyed the story. Too bad that 80% of it was padding and that had nothing to do with the main storyline. The way it ends is making me want for more. They also say press on, this is where the game gets really good. So I press on. 40 plus hours later and I am burnt out. The amount of padding is ridiculous. Yet again, I'm assured that it does get better. Keep on, you're almost there, and so I keep on. Technically, I have finished the base game, and I'd say that's another game scratched off the backlog. In June, we have more Final Fantasy XIV, more padding. Some really good boss fights, some decent story beats. But why did this expansion win so many awards? Steam Next Fest is on, and I try a heap of demos. Sworn is more or less co-op Hades. So much fun. It is even better co-op when I do finally get around to that. Tales of Iron 2 gets its hooks into me good. I wanna play it, and I wanna play it now. So, I get Tales of Iron 1 on sale. It's tight, gorgeous, with amazing music, and I love the narration. Third playthrough of Fallout 2 is done in July. It was good, but I'm glad that it is over. Getting a shotgun wedding and divorce from a drunk priest afterwards, because I couldn't stand losing my helpless wife in the desert, is another way of saying save scumming to preserve a useless character was getting super tedious. But that was also one of the funniest parts of the game. The tone of the game definitely changed from the first installment and is much closer to the Bethesda offerings than I would like to admit or remember. It is good, just not Fallout 1 good. Tales of Iron is going great. I learn the mechanics, bang my head against the wall, I lament the unfairness of some encounters and laugh at these of the others. It has some balancing issues. I can also see why the Heavensward story won the awards in Final Fantasy XIV. The twist was interesting, but the padding was not. I shed a tear for Ysayle, because the game sure as hell won't. So, is that another game scratched from my backlog? I mean, I put 70 hours into it. Let the post-expansion content begin. August is when I could take no more of Final Fantasy XIV and abandon the game before fully finishing the post-Heavensward content. Over 260 hours in game, and it will still get better soon. Life is too short for that. I might get back to the game in the future, but not anytime soon. I try playing Ni no Kuni and Phoenix Wright in Japanese for practice. It's tough, but I do hope to revisit this idea in the future. September is when I start making a conscious effort to play and stream less. And something surprising happens. I start enjoying both streaming and gaming disproportionately more. Tales of Iron is the first Souls-like game I've properly played and finally completed. A flawed, unbalanced, and janky in place, but oh, so fun. Let's take a moment and smash that like button to remember Mohammed Moli. The toughest and most frustrating fight of the whole game. Given fully optional in DLC, but damn that needed a tweak or two. Buzzing from Tales of Iron, I dive into Dark Souls properly for the first time. Wow, it's tough as nails but fair. The sweet summer child has not gotten to Capra Demon yet. But MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries is great. Slower, deliberate combat, resource management, repairs, tinkering with mechs. Ooh man, it's any mecha nerd's wet dream. Why did I not complete it? Oh yeah! MechWarrior 5 Clans burst into the scene, and we co-op rampage through the campaign. Bugs, broken mechanics, crashes and all. It is a blast. A very broken, unbalanced, but oh so cool experience. I need more of that in my life. I spend most of my free time studying Japanese, and so Dark Souls and MechWarrior 5 Clans is really the only two games I play this month. Until Stalker video on YouTube makes me decide to reinstall that gem I've never finished. 20 hours later. And wow. I must finish this. Just not now. Too busy. Multiple enemies. Tight quarters. Camera spazzing and getting trapped randomly are truly the pinnacle of Dark Souls 1 encounter design. I enjoyed so much, I come back to Capra Demon again and again and again for 5 hours straight. I am so close to dropping this bullshit of a game and never coming back to it. But it does get better. Getting cursed sucks, but I laugh. It is so Dark Souls. And then the Blight Town welcomes me. God damn it, game! Dark Souls is going apace, and Blighttown is thankfully over. The mob design in this game is simply fantastic. The way it links and loops back on itself, the way everything is connected is just sublime. Lava Place is an unfinished mess. Upper Demons as normal enemies is a laugh. I go to Japan and come back in December. Recharged and reinvigorated. I want something short and sweet, and Ancient Enemy is just the ticket. A card game with a cliché story and an interesting mix of solitaire and card battling mechanics makes for a very fun 9 hours binge. That was a good time. Not too addictive the way most CCG/TCG games are, but one and done single player sort of stuff. I want more of this, but maybe more tactical, with more story. I guess it's time to play Banner Saga. After all, I bought the trilogy, just never even installed the second and third games. So I replay Banner Saga 1. And remember maybe 20% of the game. Tactical combat is so different and good. Visuals, music, world building and feelings, it all evokes. I want more. And so, I finish Dark Souls Remastered. And the expansion, including the dragon. It's a big game. Not in terms of its length, but in terms of its weight. Kinda like Havel's armor I was wearing for half of it. I need to stew and ruminate to appreciate all of it. For every time it is doing something right, there seems to be a time it is doing something wrong, and yet there is definitely something there. So Dark Souls 2 gets bought, and of course, it would be streamed from my suffering and your pleasure in the new year. I start Banner Saga 2 and stop. And start Eisenwald and stop. And start Dredge and stop. And start Sunless Sea and stop. And go back to Dredge. Free games and winter sales. It's the worst month of the year for gaming backlog. At the end of the day, it wasn't streaming or spreadsheets that helped me clear my backlog. It was committing to play games I genuinely cared about and letting go of those I didn't. By setting aside dedicated time for single-player games, playing 2 games on alternate days, and surprisingly playing less, it all helped me rediscover my love for gaming. Hey, and it can work for you too. Try it. See what happens. As a matter of fact, inspired by this year's progress, I've set a goal to clear 20 games off my backlog in 2025. Now, this isn't just about clearing a list. It's about rediscovering the joy that brought us to gaming in the first place. So if you want to join me, here is a blueprint. Track your backlog. Use a tool like backlog.com. I'll leave a link in the description. Only 213 games to play for me. What's your number? Set a goal. Start small. 20, 10, even 5 games is totally fine. Do make time. Even 30 minutes a day, it all adds up. And if you haven't yet, ditch those live service games. They will drain your time, enthusiasm for gaming, and let's not forget money. Choose wisely. Alternate between games you know you'll enjoy and ones you're curious about. Above all though, remember, it is okay to drop a game you're not enjoying. You now have my permission for it. Gaming should be fun, not a chore. And if you have a backlog tip or a success story, share it in the comments. I'd be really curious to see that. Let's do this! Let's slay the backlog beast together in 2025. Happy New Year, you crazy people. Be kind to yourself and each other.